my lord! Welcome to the No Kidding Podcast.
That was obnoxious.
My name's Andrew. Wow. Okay. I was trying to do a Robin Williams.
Oh, like a Hello Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you call Robin Williams obnoxious? How dare you speak ill of the dead like that?
Well, that actually wasn't Robin Williams. That was...
Well, it was basically Robin Williams. That was a perfect impression.
No, it wasn't.
Of the master.
It was the actor. The actor is not who said that. I mean, it was the actor, but it wasn't the character. That's what I'm getting at.
And that's Lisa. So, how you doing? How was it? The break in between now and, the last episode. It was doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of actually amazing.
Kind of dark. Oh,
no,
right.
Not dark.
Yeah, cool.
Was it dark for you?
Kinda. I watched Haunting of Bly Manor, but
you finally watched that.
Well, I'm on the last episode, so don't spoil it. But
okay.
So I'm there. But hang on, we had some cleanup. We had some stuff that we had to talk about before that. I watched Dune.
You did.
So,
How did you like it?
I watched it. I could have answered you then. I watched it already. I watched it back when, it was still in theaters. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. It was really cool. It came through really well. I thought the art direction was super neat, especially since a lot of stuff they're dealing with wasn't super well described in the book. I think they leave some of the stuff kind of to imagination. So the kind of vibes they put on everything was super cool. Love the cast. They did take some liberties with the story as they always do, but pretty close to source material as far as I could tell. So it was just a little bit different in the way they handled the Duncan, Idaho situation stuff, but seems really cool. I'm excited for part 2. Yes.
So I was disappointed.
What do you think? I love good sci-fi no matter the context. I don't know if I would say Dune is such a classic, but it's not super, I guess, my wheelhouse of what do you call it? Sci-fi. I'm kind of gravitate more towards the space opera, sci-fi or cyberpunk kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So this was still super cool, but it was more on the Star Wars end of the spectrum, which I still totally love, but.
Yeah, I think I'm like you on that front. However, I did enjoy it. The cinematography was really good. The cast was really good. And the storyline was pretty good. I was disappointed in the fact that I was dumb and did not know that this was a one part of many parts series, and I was expecting an ending. And I was very...
You're they left me hanging. I
was let down. And yeah, I kept thinking wow, this has been a really long movie and I feel like it hasn't even started yet. So
at the end, you're wow, okay, it's about to kick off. And then credits
exactly. Roll. But I get it. But that just means now I'm committed to watching another movie, which I was not expecting in my life. So
roped you in. It's the rare, what do you call a duology?
A eulogy.
A movie?
Geez.
Not a eulogy, a duology. It's not a trilogy. It's not a trilogy. It's one less.
So is there only 2? I hope. I don't know.
Well, okay. So that's what their plan is, okay. But because they've gone halfway through the original book of Dune. Mm-hmm. The movie ended in the middle of Dune, the book. So to get the rest of it, I guess they've already set up and are planning and have been greenlit for the second half of that book.
Right.
And yeah, but there are technically, I think, 6 books in that series, so they could do a lot more. But Dune is the one that's everybody knows about, and it's the classic, and it's what almost everybody talks about in that series. And they're and then there's the other ones. It's not like Harry Potter where they're it's the whole thing.
Right.
It's it's the Sorcerer's Stone, and then she made more.
Yeah, she made more than that. So I did get really pissed off about one thing in this movie in Dune, and I don't know how much to talk about it because I don't want to give any spoilers.
Yeah, you don't like worms. I get it.
But I'll just say it's the scene where the guy lets out poison.
Yeah.
The effect had a purpose, and the purpose was not fulfilled, and that was very disappointing to me.
Oh, can you imagine how much it must have disappointed the guy that let out the poison?
Well, I mean, he doesn't know, but I'm
yeah,
just
that's
saying,
true. He doesn't know.
I mean, he might know. We don't know. I don't want to assume. I don't want to let people think that he might not know, but he could know. Mm-hmm. Anyways,
maybe he knows.
Maybe he knows.
Maybe he doesn't.
But
yeah,
I know,
it was one of those situations where you got a shot, you got to take it.
Yes.
What are you gonna do?
Well, yeah.
It'd be kind of boring if he was just yep, got him. And the end.
This is true. Okay, so I was gonna ask you, have you watched any of the Halo yet? The new Halo series?
Yeah, I have.
See, I haven't yet. I was like, there's only one episode, so what am I doing to myself?
There's 2 episodes now.
Okay, well, see, if I like it, I don't like to be left hanging with one episode. That's just...
Yeah, you need at least 2.
Yeah.
Come on.
So you watched it. What'd you think?
Yeah, no comment.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. It is what I expected.
Oh, it is.
So
okay.
It's not like, which isn't saying much,
right.
But it's not really holding to the source material too closely. It's well, like not at all really, but in some aspects, it's like I appreciate the parts of the story that they're pointing at, and they've clearly like taken things from the source material and like said like, oh, this is some of the most interesting plot points, and we're gonna weave this together again. Essentially, like they're gonna cut away everything that was the original story and keep the gems, and then like weave a new story between them. Essentially, that's how a lot of these kind of like adaptations work.
That's dumb.
And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard for somebody who is such a fan of source material to watch that happen.
Because I would think that's the whole ppurpose of making it is to appease the people who are fans of it, and then to completely take that away, it seems you're just looking for pissing people off.
I think their intention, while I'm looking at it, is for them to create a like genuinely in its own right good sci-fi series. And draw in potentially like a whole new audience. I don't think that's gonna happen. Like I don't think Halo is that kind of. I mean, I know it's like a household name and everything, and people might be interested to be like, oh, now there's a TV show, so I can like see what my son's always talking about or whatever. Like I don't think that's gonna be a big enough audience to sustain the show. I think that they'd be better off just being close to the source material and doing what they can to like let like people new to the series like in on the
truth behind
like,
it.
Yeah, kind of like get to see it in a way that's more approachable than playing games and reading the books. Because even like if you're just somebody who's played the games, you've missed a lot of the lore. Like there's a lot of stuff in the books and stuff that isn't ever even mentioned in the games. Like stuff that the games are very much like action shooters. Like there's not like a huge amount of story in them.
Right.
They're more just like an FPS game. But I mean, they set up a very interesting story, and then a lot of the like background like books and media that's surrounding it. Like there's been like some other small shows, like not really like on this scale, but like little animated shorts and series and stuff that just to like stitch some of the like deeper lore together. So that's been cool to see them, that they at least, I think that they at least looked at that kind of source material. I actually heard a rumor, I think he tweeted it or something, so I could probably look it up, but the creator of the show said that he wasn't going to play the games because he didn't want to like make it too much like a video game movie, I guess. Like, I guess those don't do well.
Dumb.
So. Yeah, it's the source material. Like that's literally where it came from.
Did you read the books at least?
It seems like yes. Like it looks like there's a lot of the book lore and stuff in this, which is cool. Like at least inspiring it, I should say, because it's not really accurate. But yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of fun to see that stuff on screen, and they're definitely doing a good job with like the sets and the props and stuff. Like they clearly like had a good props team like make this stuff, and it looks cool to see like an assault rifle that you'd see in the game, like in the show, like in real life kind of. The CG's a little rough, but I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, there's some, I assume, like there's a budget limit, and there's a lot of like effects and action in this series. So, it seems like there's gonna be there. You can't spend all their budget on every fight, right? Or every little like scene that's gonna need CG. But
sure,
they made some weird decisions, like. A lot of one of the things that they did was, this is in conjunction with obviously the creators and everything. The people that are in charge of it now, 343, the people that develop the games. So they have access to, I assume, everything. Like 343 even was like involved in a lot of the production and stuff. So they have access to, I assume, like all the assets and everything. So it seems weird to me that somebody posted a YouTube video of where they replaced the sounds that they used in the show with the sounds from the game, like the sounds of the gun shooting and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was like, why didn't they do that? Like they had to obviously like generate like gunshot sounds and stuff for these sequences to like match up to the props. Why didn't they just use the game audio? Like they already have audio of like what these guns sound like
maybe
in the game.
The game producers wouldn't let them. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like the producers were involved. Like they helped
involved
with the creation. Yeah, that's what 343 is. So they like were involved in some way and like seem to be working to help them like make it as, you know, like real to the lore and to the whatever. So it's like, why didn't they just ask them for the assets? Like,
this is true. I agree.
And so like they just wanted to have kind of like make it, maybe they, I don't know, in some way
Creative
felt like,
liberties
that's
never go well.
That's not a, they're like, that's not a, you know, that's like a game sound or something. And we want to like have a more realistic, like real gun sound. But I mean, the games are based on real life gun sounds as well. So like somebody replaced it with the sounds of like the original like guns and stuff. And it was like, so it brought back so much more of this nostalgia, more so than like they have a scene in there where they're definitely trying to like tug on that for the like core gamer audience, where they just kind of like do a little tip of the hat towards the gamers, where they show a scene, a couple frames of from the Master Chief's point of view where he's running. So you're essentially in first person. You can see his HUD and the aiming and everything. So you're basically like, it looks just like the game. So it's like, oh, okay, all right, I see what you're doing here. So they did a few stuff like that, kind of like fan servicey kind of things. But then they like, I felt like way better than that, which was, you know, kind of a ham-fisted way to do it, was like just put in like the original gun sounds and stuff. Like somebody who's watching it for the first time isn't going to know the difference, and somebody who is a long time like Halo fan is going to go, oh, that's the sound of the sniper rifle. Like I know that sound.
Yeah,
I've heard it 1,000 times.
That you're right. So that would have been the better choice. At least it's kind of like a nod to the people who follow and know it very well. So at least they have something to connect with it, because you don't want to completely alienate them and say, you know, hey, we're not making this for you, essentially.
Yeah.
So
speaking of aliens, the elites were thick.
What? The what were thick?
The elites, the covenants, the alien like forces. They look cool, but they were like big versions of the elites. Like there's very many different iterations across the Halo series of the different like art styles of the elites. Like they've kind of done every different iteration of them. These were like big guys. Like they walked in, I assume they wanted to make them look like really menacing and really highlight how much bigger they are than like humans and stuff. But it was like, oh, they look thick, meaty. Like they've been lifting.
Wow. All right.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I should at least watch it. I have been a little apprehensive about it for two reasons. Kind of like I was a little bit fearful of just like I said, the creative liberties that people take when they do kind of adaptations and stuff, but also the fact that they have been promoting this for so long that you kind of like, what was that you were talking about, that game that kept trying to come out and then they kept putting it off and they kept putting it off.
Star Citizen.
Yeah, and then like people
Cyberpunk.
Yeah. So then people were just, at first they were excited about it, then they were not excited about it, and then it's just like, I don't know, it kind of lost something. So
yeah, you really gotta, there's a like delicacy in how you generate hype for something, right? Like there's a right point to start building the hype, because there is a trajectory that it's going to go at that you can't entirely predict, right? Like it could blow up overnight and then be dead the next day. You can't tell for sure where that's going to be, but you know, just based on past experience, you can get a pretty good idea of like, okay, if I announce it like a couple months beforehand, the bell curve of excitement, you want it to release at the point at which it's the highest, right? And most people are going to want to engage with it and stuff.
But at the same time, I feel like I should watch it to maybe support a little bit, because I'm assuming they went through a lot of heck to get this thing done, and I appreciate the loyalty to their craft and pushing through.
And that's also where I'm at, like, and just in general, when somebody's adapting something that you're, you know, like fond of the source material and stuff, it's like, it's a weird position to be in when, you know, they didn't nail it, but they're also doing something, like really trying with it. And it's like, do I want to support that? Like, I want to say, like, as a fan, like, thanks for making it, but at the same time, maybe do it better. You know, but at the same time, like, they went through so much, like you said, to make it exist. So it's like, is this the only version of this I'm going to get ever?
Probably.
Should I just enjoy what I'm getting, and, you know, just try and, you know, accept that this is going to be the definitive Halo show, and that's just going to be what it is.
This is true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I'm also kind of there's a part of me that's peeved that this will be a lot of people's like first experience to the deeper lore. Even people who, like I said, play the games and maybe didn't know so much about the back history and everything. Like this is how a lot of people will be exposed to like the deeper lore, and it's kind of like told in a really wrong and different way. So it's kind of like I don't know. Like obviously it's episode number 2. Maybe they're going to tell an amazing story with this stuff. I guess it's wrong to say that it's wrong how they're telling the story. Obviously it's their story and they're just going to tell it the way they want to do it. But it's not really going to be Halo at this point, because I mean they're already to the point where the Master Chief is a totally different person than he is in the games or the books or anything. Like I guess not to spoil too much, but like in the second episode, I believe, he just like takes off his suit. He's chilling. He's just like having convos with people and stuff. And like the whole thing in the game is like he never takes off his helmet even, let alone his whole suit. In fact, taking off the suit is like a whole thing. Like you need a whole apparatus and a team of engineers to get that thing off, because it's like this like power armor that's like nailed to him essentially. Yeah. So it's like
it's a process.
Yeah, and so it's like that's a whole thing on its own. The logistics of even getting that armor off are one thing, but also the total like personality flip. And I get it, right? Like they have to tell a story, and so in the Master Chief, like in the vid docs for Halo 2, I think it was Joseph Staten has a line that a lot of people bring up that he said that the Master Chief was never really meant to be a character. He was meant to be a vessel for the player. Like it was essentially supposed to be like whoever is playing him, you're the Master Chief.
Right.
The Master Chief doesn't really exist. You step into him, and because this is like an interactive experience, you and like what you think and what you would have said in that situation, like they don't want to have so many voice lines because it's supposed to be like whatever you're thinking is would have been the voice line or whatever, right? Like it's like you are the Master Chief.
Yes, and it kind of like takes that veil down and exposes
because now he has to be a character if you're going to tell a story that's like
but
really
how else
has
would
him
the
at
actor
the
get his
center of it.
face time? I mean, come on.
Exactly. But that's the other thing, because like Pedro Pascal does the Mandalorian, and I think they did a really good job of that, because the whole lore behind the Mandalorians is that they don't remove their helmet. And the whole show is that they have this like great actor to play Mando, and he never removes his helmet or his armor or anything. Like there is, spoiler alert, there is a point where you do see his face. But for the like 99% of the show, you're like, it's just him and the armor, and they like nailed that for the Star Wars lore and were totally able to do it. And I believe like the original Mandalorian came out before this Halo thing was in production, so it seems like they might have took a note from that, but I guess not. So I don't know, like I think it's possible to tell a story with a guy in a suit that doesn't have many voice lines. Like I think Mando totally proved that.
Right.
But yeah, so the Master Chief seems way too emotional as well, and just it's very out of character for him. So they're definitely telling like a different kind of story. And it is like, I understand, like as you're going to tell more story focused stuff, like you need to have a character that has a personality. But I would like to point back to the 343 games. Like a lot of people like kind of don't like the later iterations of the Halo games because they're not done by the original creators, which was Bungie. But I like one thing in particular about the later iterations, in that they decided to make them more story driven. And so they have more lore in them and stuff, because the Halo universe does have a lot of great lore. And to do that, they had to make the Master Chief have a little bit more of a personality. However, they have done a really good job of walking that line and like having him, he has like maybe 3 times as many voice lines in any other Halo game, like in the later games, but that's still only like 5 voice lines. It's not that many. They just put them in really important spots, right? Like when he has a voice line, like it's meaningful, it's impactful because he's been silent this whole time. So like when somebody that's silent and like important and imposing speaks up, like it captures the room. And I love the way they direct the games, and they make like him more of a person without him being emotional or having a lot of voice lines. Like you can create an emotional like the implication of emotion, even without any face or like voice. Yeah. Like with a helmet on and no voice, like you can still tell a story that has that in it. And I think the Mandalorian and who was the guy that directed that? He did Iron Man and everything. I forget his name. He's Happy in the Avengers.
He's Happy?
Yeah, that's his name. This character's name is Happy.
Oh, Favreau?
Jon Favreau, yeah.
Favreau.
Yeah, so he did a really good job. Obviously, it's Jon Favreau, so that's one thing. But I mean, they have Steven Spielberg involved with, he's just like an executive producer, but he's involved with the Halo thing. So I mean, they got some talent there behind the camera.
Oh, so he's doing Halo, or he's did Mandalorian?
Jon Favreau did The Mandalorian, so that's what I'm comparing it to. And I'm saying like he did a really good job of doing the like strong silent character.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
And whereas on the flip side, Halo, they've just kind of been like, well, screw that. We're going to take his helmet off. He's going to be like, he's going to have some emotional moments and freak out.
Yeah.
In a way that's like really, really different from the core, like everything that's ever been known about the Master Chief, right?
Yeah.
So, so as that, I mean, that's again, it's what I expected. Like I said from the start, like when this was going to come out, I knew that was likely going to be the case, that they were going to because that's a really hard thing to do, right? Like I understand. I'm not like being like, oh, come on guys, you should have just done The Mandalorian. Cause you can't just do The Mandalorian, it's like, that's a really hard thing to build up, but I wish they had, right?
Yeah.
Because they had 343 there. That's been doing, I think, a pretty good job of building the Master Chief's character as like a strong silent one. And they have some examples of doing that in the TV show format with like Mandalorian. So I wish that would have happened, but I totally expected this. So I'm not shocked that they decided to make him like a more present, emotional person with the FaceTime.
Yeah, true.
It is hard also, I assume, for the actor, right? To get an actor that's willing to have no FaceTime.
Right.
So.
Hey, you can join us, but you can't be seen.
Meanwhile, I totally am aware. I was aware before I ever saw any screenshots of Halo that it was, I just totally blanked, Paul Schreiber. And then I know that Pedro Pascal does The Mandalorian. So, I mean, I'm aware of these actors, even without seeing their faces. I think that you can still like get your fame or your fame out there without having to necessarily have FaceTime. And I think that even is more impressive on a resume if you can say like, I did this really successful show as a main character without ever having the ability to use like facial expressions or anything, like completely body language forward,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's cool, but what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, it's still early days too, so it could get better. I mean, you can't really change those aspects, but
yeah, it'd be like they could totally flip around the Master Chief's persona again in the middle of it. That'd be really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's what I expected. So I hope that it can be a fun show to watch and that it ends up being a really good story in its own right. But yeah, I feel like it'll just create that kind of weird division in the Halo lore where it's like somebody's like, oh, I love Halo, and they start talking about like the show, and like it's like really different than what I'm talking about. I'm like, I also love Halo, and it's cool that you love Halo, but just so you know, there's like two totally separate conversations
we're having. Yeah, like which
one
are you talking about?
There's example A, example B.
So that's true. We were actually talking about Apple TV and how Apple TV is two separate things, and because somebody was talking to me about Apple TV, and it got confusing because I thought they were talking about the box that you buy and connect to your, like it's like an actual box, like a Roku is a box. Whereas there's also I think they do streaming service.
I think they have. Yeah, it's like there are two things named the same thing or something like that.
But anyway,
right.
So I haven't really been invested in a show lately. I've just been watching a lot of YouTube lately, because. And this kind of is similar, but I've been watching this guy, which I don't know, I may have mentioned it before because I have sort of like dabbled in before, but now I've kind of like gone all in and started watching all of his videos. But his name is Shy. That's it, just Shy. And
Shy Guy?
He's not Shy Guy. Well, I mean, his friends, his bros might call him Shy Guy. I don't know. But his name is
Shy Guy is a character in Mario.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. But no, his I think I feel like I mentioned this to you before. Maybe I mentioned it to you the other day. I don't know. But he runs a YouTube channel called Shy. I think it's Shy. But his, I guess, whole thing is illegal freedom, and he goes through and he does train hopping and train surfing, and he's
a vagabond.
Goes to like abandoned cities and abandoned buildings, and he goes inside and kind of looks around. It's really interesting. It's so interesting, and it's something that it's one of those things that I would like to do but would never do because I would never feel safe enough to do. But it's just very cool. but I don't want to support it too much because there's a lot of obviously things he does that is illegal. Like he trespasses a lot, but he's very respectful of it.
He doesn't hurt anybody.
He doesn't,
right?
no, like he's very respectful and he talks about being respectful. He doesn't share any of the locations where he goes because he doesn't want,
copycats.
Well, not necessarily copycats, but people going and vandalizing the areas, like finding his videos.
Well, I mean, he's basically showing how to like break in and get into a place.
And there's some places where he goes in and there is valuable things that people could easily go and steal.
Right. So it's like advertising, like, hey, you could just walk in here and take this, guys.
But
so he doesn't do that.
No, he doesn't. He never takes anything. He doesn't vandalize anything. He puts everything back where he finds it. He even like if he goes in a certain way, he doesn't break in. He always finds a way in that's easily accessible. If you can't get in and
non-destructive entry.
if you can't get in without being destructive, he doesn't go in. That kind of stuff. So, but one of his things is he loves being at the highest point of wherever he is. So he likes to climb up to the very top. And there are some times where it like it's very scary what he does. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like he's young, obviously, and he has that mentality as like if I were young, I'd probably have the same mentality. And as you get older, you kind of have that wisdom to know, like
the adrenaline.
Like
junkie.
you could do it in a little bit of a safer way than what. But obviously he does it enough that he's very comfortable and confident. Like we were talking last week, how some people
like maybe wear a harness and
like
clip onto something.
Yeah. And I think as I've been watching, as he's progressed, as he's gotten older, I've noticed he's added more things to his repertoire and his gear and different things that kind of resemble that. So I think, you live and learn. So I think he's definitely doing it smart and safe as possible for himself. So,
it's super cool.
Yeah, and it is super cool. And he, but one of the things I'm the most jealous of is his photography, because I've recently been following him on Instagram too. And like he gets some pretty epic shots because of the places and things that he does. And from a photography standpoint,
Imagine so.
I love that. But
you ready to break in and climb some towers?
I don't know, maybe, but
I've seen like the people that climb skyscrapers and stuff, like try and get to the roof of a skyscraper and like climb the antennas and crap like that. That's like
I don't want to do anything
death defying.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that. But like I'm not afraid of heights, but I am afraid of the unforeseen circumstances, like the wind knocking you or you tripping, or like there are things that can happen that you don't prepare for. Just like I was saying with the guy last week who was skating, and he is a pro at skating, and he, knows his body, he knows his movements, he's very comfortable, and like everything he does, he still broke his arm because he didn't foresee.
Turns out he's human being.
Yeah, there are things that can happen. So it's not so much that you don't trust the person and what they're doing. It's that there's a lot of unforeseen things that could happen that, so that kind of stuff. But it's just a very interesting. But okay, so why it kind of tied into what you were saying is that he always wears a mask or like a bandana over his face, over the half of his face, because he doesn't want to be recognized. And so like in all of his videos, and at first you're kind of like, you want to connect with this person, and it's sometimes you feel like, oh, I can't really like connect with them. But then as you watch him more and more.
Have you Googled shy without bandana?
No. No, I haven't. But I think that's part of like the intrigue too, is like you were saying with Master Chief and with The Mandalorian, there is a certain level of like intrigue about not knowing who he is, like allowing him to have that separation and that mystery almost.
It almost drives interest.
Yeah, in a way. So I kind of appreciate that too. But
same kind of thing with, I was saying, like when you have a character that doesn't say much, like deliver a voice line, like it can be that much more impactful. Like you make it big. Right.
And I think he's good at that, like artistic. He definitely has an artistic view of the world. And I think that's also partly why I like it too. It's kind of like it encompasses a lot of my interests into one channel and person. So I highly recommend checking that out. But I also have been watching a lot of like videos that are kind of, they talk about lore or history or things like that. So one of them is called Let Me Know. Have you heard of that? It's like,
I have not.
Okay, so it's just let me look it up. LEMMINO. It's like Let Me Know, but spelled weird.
Let me know.
And he does like little short documentaries.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but they're all like mystery themed kind of, or things that, you know, have happened that, you know, people don't know the full story about or whatever, but it's very interesting. So highly recommend that. There's also another one called Fascinating Horror, and if you like, it talks about just things that have happened to somebody that or a group of people, or I don't know. It's a very interesting documentary style. Again, he does a really good job of, I'm trying to think, like at the same time I'm trying to think, there's another one that's very similar, and that's why I was trying to think of like, how can I it's comparable to another channel. I'm trying to think of the name. I don't know, I can't think of it now, but that's another one that's really good.
There's for some reason you're kind of reminding me of the Internet Historian, if you've ever seen that. It's like a channel that does videos about like phenomenons on the internet. I haven't really watched it too much, but
so it's like
it's
internet
very
lore?
popular. Yeah, kind of. It's kind of popular for a lot of people. He has like 3 million subscribers, so not like huge, but he also only puts out like a couple videos a year, but they always seem pretty interesting.
Oh, okay.
Like kind of catalog a weird situation that like happened over the internet.
Oh, cool.
Like almost like a socio-political thing, but like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one thing you can check out. It's almost like internet lore.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out, because I kind of like these short little documentaries that talk about something that I didn't know about, and it tells kind of every detail about it. And Let Me Know is the same way, and it's kind of like getting history, but also a forewarning. That's kind of why I like horror stories, like true stories, you know, true crime stories and things like that. You learn things. You learn kind of what to avoid or what to look for, or things you can predict in a way.
Right.
So it's not just about the entertainment value. You're kind of learning something too. So
true.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like the Vice ones? I guess those are pretty popular.
Vice.
No. Yeah, they do like a lot of kind of documentary style videos about random stuff going on in the world.
Is that on YouTube too?
Yeah, they have a channel. People find those like pretty engaging, I guess. I haven't seen a lot of them either, but
cool.
That's the one that comes to mind.
I'll check that out. Another fun one that have you ever, I think it was just like one video, but he does a lot of other videos, but it's called Joe Pera Talks You to Sleep. That one's pretty funny. It's 10 hours. Well, I think normally he does little short ones, but there's a full one that has, I guess, grouped them all into one long video. But it's just a guy who talks to you while, like, in this calming voice, but he just says the most random, unusual things. I don't know how to explain it. You just have to listen to it, but it's funny. I don't know how anybody could fall asleep to it, but I think the point
it's too engaging and hilarious for 10 hours.
It's definitely entertaining. But he has like a voice that I think because he's serious, like, I don't know that he's being funny, but maybe he is being funny. I think he's actually, I'm sure. But he's definitely entertaining. So check him out. Joe Pera. It's Pera, I think.
Okay.
And just give that a listen. But yeah, other than that, I've just been watching Louis Theroux documentaries as usual, because
big documentary push.
Can't really get enough of that guy. So
just put out more content.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Yeah, I did watch.
You gotta give him like a Patreon, or does he have a Patreon?
Support him. Louis Theroux. He doesn't need a Patreon. He's
I mean, he's
enough.
big, but so he's just doing this for fun.
Yeah. No.
But some way to directly contribute.
Well, Louis Theroux is like he's not a YouTuber. He's
okay. He's like a real
guy. Yeah.
But I mean, just still, I assume they still need funding for something.
Yeah, actually, he did leave the BBC, I believe, and he's now like independent. So yeah.
So get him some
maybe,
dollar
but
bills
he
or pounds.
is currently doing a new documentary here in Florida.
Ooh, so you can go give him money in person, just like the Vagabond.
I don't know if he's finished with it yet, but yeah, that's true. Yeah, like if I see him, I think he's actually done though. I think he's just like putting it all together now, or might have even come out. I don't know, because I don't have a way to watch. I know the whole like VPN thing, but so his documentaries only air in the BBC or in the UK. So it's very hard to get his documentaries until it's been like years later, or unless you somehow snipe it or whatever. Or so, and we don't really do that anymore. So it's been like years since we've been able to get a hold of any of his new.
Darth, we need. It's like an embargo. You need to go to England and ship them out.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm looking forward to seeing it whenever I do see it. His new ones. But I have been reading his. He did put out some books, so I read some of his books, and
Nice.
He does have a podcast. I don't really listen to his podcast that much, but
different format.
Yeah, it's kind of different. But it's not. I'm not like that obsessed with him. So like.
Not that obsessed.
I just pretty much like his documentaries because his book was good too. But anyway, enough about him. GeoGuessr. Been watching more of him. Kind of more of his old stuff because he's really good at that. And
were you the one telling me about the guy where they just drop him off? Like, it's like real world GeoGuessr
that is
where
GeoGuessr.
They just literally drop him off in the middle of the.
Yeah,
okay.
he normally doesn't do that, but he decided to do that because I think he got tired of doing the internet stuff for a while. So he was like, how can I make this more interactive, more fun for me? So he just started doing that. And he also does excursions where he tries to make it from one point to another point in a straight line. That's been his thing lately. So he gets dropped, he starts at one point, and he mostly does it in the UK, but he'll start one point and then he'll say, I have to make it to this other point in one straight line and not deviate from that line no matter what gets in my way. So I haven't
so climb over buildings and stuff.
Yeah, well, I think he mostly does it over like wilderness,
rural area.
Yeah, or like we'll go through people's yards and people's farms and what have you, but yeah, so
as the crow flies.
I don't know, it's worth. I haven't actually watched a full.
You just love when people break into places, huh?
That's
trespassing,
my
rather.
side. Okay, I can't help myself. But
I don't know if I'm afraid of heights. That's a hard one for me. Like,
how would you not know?
I like being high up on places, and I don't mind being like on the edge of a mountain or something, like overlooking a big cliff drop. But like, I still get a little like, ooh, whenever I'm climbing a ladder.
Okay. So I can climb up the ladder. It's climbing down for me. That is the hard part. Yeah,
Well, it's also like transferring. Like I always have to climb up on my roof, and it's like that moment when you're like getting off the ladder and stepping onto the roof that you're like, if I like push my weight in a weird way, like, am I going to accidentally like flip the ladder out from under me?
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
And it's like not even that bad of a fall. It's just like one story. So like, why am I freaking out? But
yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. I can see that because it is like one of those things that it's one of those situations where you never know what could happen. Like, is the ladder on stable ground, or is it going to fold on one side? Sometimes they're not always stable. So, or the ground isn't level, or you're in a sandy spot or something. But yeah, for me, it's always going down. I'm always like, is the ladder going to fall? Like, I don't know why, but it's definitely more terrifying for me to go down. So, but that was one thing that I think part of the reason why I like watching Shy go through and go up on like rooftops and stuff like he used to do is because it's a little nostalgic for me, because when I was young, I used to climb up on rooftops all the time. I would climb up on our house rooftop. I would climb up on the top of the schoolyard roof, and just different places to be. And it does feel very calming and like and peaceful, because you're up high and there's nothing that can really get to you, and you're alone usually, or you're with few people. Right. So I don't know.
It's like that animal instinct of being up in a tree.
Yeah, kind of. So, of course, it just kind of reminds me of that. And there's a certain level of freedom to it. So, yeah. But, the guy's name is, I keep saying GeoGuessr, but it's GeoWizard. If people want to check that out on YouTube, his name's GeoWizard. But he does missions. And well, right now he's doing mission. Like, he used to do geoguessing, like Tamara's? But now, and he still does geoguessing videos. But he's really into, like, one of his recent. Oh, a year ago. Sorry, this was a year ago. But he attempted to cross Norway in a completely straight line. Let me see what his most
Wow.
recent video was, because that might give a better idea of what he's into right now. Well, I guess he is doing more like computer-based stuff now. Just guessing. I think he plays like.
Maybe he got bored during COVID.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he did that. Yeah, like. Oh, well, 2 months
cool.
ago he did do a straight line throughout Wales. So he's kind of does a mix of stuff. So yeah.
Cool. That's an interesting idea for a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I guess you fall into it by just doing like the geoguessing game, and then you are like, what if I can do this in real life? I love to see how channels evolve like that.
This is
like,
true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they just go into like merchandising and stuff. Like I know Babish started making like a cookware line, so that seems like a natural evolution.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some other ones that kind of take weird turns.
I have another person too. I actually have been watching a lot of, but I've kind of always watched her, so I didn't really think about it. But her name is Haley Burns, and like she's in college, but I love watching her videos because they're very nostalgic feeling, but also she's so normal and down to earth. She's not like every other person who videos on YouTube, like does YouTube vlogs or whatever. She's kind of like, she does show her life, and but she also is very adventurous, and I don't know, it's just a very raw style, which I love. So it's kind of getting a peek into her life, but it's very realistic, I guess. And I love her personality too. She's very like fun, and she has kind of a sarcastic, like a light under the radar humor, which I like. So that's kind of one that's different than all the other ones I suggested. But, another one that's been really fun. This isn't YouTube. This is Netflix. So it's called Old Enough. Have you ever heard of this? It's a
No. show.
They have very short episodes. Like I think one of them was even 7 minutes long, but they're all different.
Wow.
They're all different lengths. But it's a series on Netflix where it follows around children in Japan who the mothers or the families give the children a task to do. Like it's part of their growing up process where they get tested, and at a certain age, whatever age they like, different ages, but they get a test where they have to complete a task alone. And it's fascinating because the first episode, the boy is 2 years old. He's 2 years old.
What's his task?
His task is to go from his house all the way to the grocery store, buy 3 things that the mother told him. He doesn't have a list. He has to remember the 3 things and come home. Okay? So she gives him money. She gives him a flag that he's supposed to use to cross the street. And she tells him the 3 items. So it's crazy. It's fascinating. Now this little boy, he's 2 years old. I don't want to spoil it, but basically
what a wild
lot
ride.
of things happen throughout his journey, but it is fascinating, his mindset and like how he processes everything, how he remembers to do everything. It's crazy, but he finishes it. He completes the task.
Wow.
I know.
Surprising.
Anyway, but they're not all that seamless. Like they don't all go according to plan, essentially.
Right. I'd imagine not.
Like one of the next, I think it's the next episode or whatever, but the little boy is given a task to go home and make juice. And he's supposed to go home, make the juice, and come back from this orchard where the family works.
Okay.
It's like an apple orchard. And basically...
Wow, in Japan? They must be rich.
Oh, not apple. I'm sorry, orange. Did I say apple? I'm sorry. No, I think it's oranges. But anyway. So they work at this orange grove, and it's the mom and the grandparents work there. The little boy is told to go home, make us some juice, and come back and give us the juice. Okay, this takes forever because he gets distracted so many times, but it's hilarious. It's funny. And the mother has to call him on the phone at some point to like get him back on task.
Right.
And he lies to
where
her.
Are you?
He lies to her on both occasions. He's like, I did it. And she's like, you did? And she could see him. And obviously he didn't make the juice. I don't know. It's funny. And he really wants to do it, but he just keeps getting distracted. It's really funny.
Well, it's funny because like that's how all kids movies are, right? Like some crazy stuff happens and they get sidetracked and a whole adventure occurs.
It's fun. It's fun. I recommend you guys watch it. But it's a peek into like the Japanese culture and what they do, but also it's pretty funny to see these small children complete these, seemingly large tasks.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Old Enough.
Old Enough. Okay.
Yeah. on Netflix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very fascinating concept.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been watching lately.
That's so cool. That's awesome. I've been watching. I've been really stressed out and have a lot to do, so I've only had time for movies. Like I can't get invested in a full show of anything. So just been watching movies. But I've been working on getting a new job. So it's been really crazy.
How
It's
is that going?
just stressful. I hate hunting for new jobs, but also successful. So I've gotten 2 offers, very much better than what I have, and I got what I was looking for. So
that's awesome. Congratulations. I know you were working really hard on like your program, your I don't know if they call them tests or whatever.
Right. But it's technical problems, so they send you home with like stuff that you have to code, so you can actually be like, "Look, I know how to do things."
Yes.
But so, and it's also super awkward because I've been spending like the last week like schmoozing with the higher ups, like basically all of my bosses, because they are like in town and they're like, "Hey, COVID's over," kind of. So like come into the office and like we'll buy you food and we can like hang out and like see what's up, because the whole organizational structure above me is pretty much changed. So it's like I'm meeting a lot of them for the first time. And then they gave me a huge raise. So
oh my gosh.
I was like,
They knew.
It's nowhere close to the offers I'm getting still.
Oh
so.
No. So like better than the offers you're getting?
No, it's worse.
Okay. Well, and, at least there's that, because otherwise it'd be like, oh, well, now what do I do? You know?
I mean, that would make it easier, right? Because I could stay, but there's also the situation of like, there's the situation of switching jobs is a whole thing and something that, makes me nauseous. But
of course,
there is the whole situation that's just, so the lesser of the 2 options I have is very much like what I'm doing now, but just a lot more money. So that's like the safe option, right? But then this other one is a startup that's like very lucrative and could potentially make I could potentially make a lot of money working there. And also like they're very bare bones right now. They don't have a lot of staff. A lot of people are even doing like multiple jobs. So it's probably going to be a lot of hard work, but then also they're probably going to end up hiring a lot of people, which are going to obviously make the people that were there sooner or like have the seniority like bubble up into higher positions. So I have the potential.
Potential.
I have a lot more potential to grow. However, it's a startup, so it's also super volatile and could, the whole company could go under, let alone like they could lose some funding and decide to like cut some of the developers, so.
Yeah. Well, they must feel pretty confident if they're offering you a pretty decent salary.
Yeah, and that's also scary though, because like it's the kind of money that I'm like, somebody of my skill has no business being paid this amount of money. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I almost want to tell them like, syndrome. Are you sure?
Yeah. Right.
Can I work for less than this? I feel bad taking this money from you.
But then it also puts pressure on you to perform to that level.
Yeah.
But so, I don't know. Don't have imposter syndrome. I'm sure they.
Good.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. Yeah, sure. They might know what they're doing. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. They're like, we'll take a chance on this guy. Yeah, and it's nothing to do with anything I've worked on basically ever. It's a whole new ball game.
But like a fun ball game, or is it a stressful ball game?
Theoretically, I mean, I haven't worked there, so I don't know. But I do have a friend that works there. I was recommended on both occasions on both companies. I know people, so.
Oh, that's good.
I know that they both have a decent culture and stuff, but I also know that it's super like different tech stack than I'm used to on the startup side.
Mm-hmm.
So
could be some opportunity to grow then.
Yeah,
like
I mean that's also
skills.
another thing. Like that would be a fun challenge to be able to be like, yeah, I jumped into this arena that I basically don't know anything about and was able to figure it out and be successful. Would be awesome.
So would you never get to do what you already do? Is it like you're switching to a completely different style, or would you do both?
I mean, there's obviously similarities between any like development, like different programming languages and stuff still have things that are similar about them, and like the paradigms and stuff of like you have a model view controller, as we call it. It's basically like server database and front end sort of environment. Like those things still exist, and it's like not a completely different like thing in the sense that I'm like going to like low level machine learning, like some kind of weird stuff like that. But so it's similar in the sense that I'm making like end user applications still. But yeah, pretty much everything else is different. The closest thing is that I'm traditionally a Angular developer. Well, I'm like a full stack developer. I do Spring and databases as well. But Angular is like the front end that I'm used to, and they have a similar kind of thing, which is React, but it's still pretty different. So I'd have to learn pretty much a whole new everything.
Do they know that you would have to learn a new one?
Oh, yeah. I was like, in the interview, it wasn't even really a formal interview. They were like, yeah, so we called to give you a job because, you know, your friend recommended you. I was like, just like that? And they're like, pretty much. They're like, we don't have a lot of time to spend on interviews here, so just come on in. I was like, all right. Just so you know, I don't know any of this stuff. I was like asking them, I'm like pretty much stuff I could Google, but I was like, hey, you've worked with this. Like, what do you think? And they're like, yeah, you know, the guy that I was actually talking to that's going to be my manager was like, I'm exactly like you. I did Angular, Spring, like the exact kind of tech stack that you worked with. And then I came into this and, you know, it's a little bit weird and different, but figured it out. Figure you can too. And I was like, okay.
No, that's awesome.
I was like, all right, as long as, I mean, this guy knows where I'm coming from, so I guess it should be fine. But I don't know. And also, there's the whole thing of it being a startup. So
true, yeah. But at the same time,
but that's also cool. That's like programmer points. That's like, yeah, I work for a startup. LOL, Silicon Valley hashtag. Dev life.
Very true. Yeah, I don't know. I feel the same. I think I understand where you're going at, and I think, depending on your future goals for your personal life or where you plan on ending up or any of that, you obviously have to take that in consideration. But it could be the right time, and there could always be a time in the future where you could switch if you needed something a little bit safer. Like if things don't work out, you do know people in different positions. Not to say that other position would still be available, but it sounds like the fact that you have 2 offers and you know people who are like, you have friends, and
it's good to know people. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have those connections. So it's not the what I'm getting at is, if you did go that way, I don't know that it would necessarily, it does seem unsafe or like a little bit of a gamble, but it's probably not quite as big of a gamble as it might seem, I guess. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but I'm sure you'll make the decision that's best for your life. But it's awesome that you have those offers. I mean, you have options. It's always good to have options.
I mean, because people keep messaging me because they know that this whole process makes me like super uncomfortable, and they're like, "Are you okay? Like, do you need anything? Like, are you just don't worry about it too much?" And I'm like, I love that people are like consoling me that I'm being showered with amazing opportunities.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm like, thank you
is a stressful time,
for your
though.
concern, but theoretically everything's going right for me. It's just I want to throw up at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, I know. That process of trying to get a new job and the interview process, all of that is the worst. I mean, it's just the most nerve-wracking and horrible feeling of uncertainty, and also like trying to prove yourself. Are they going to am I going to be a right fit? Like the whole thing, like, this is my future. It feels like a heavy thing, and so I get it. Like, it's not a good place to be. It's just like when you're in a new relationship and you're like, you feel good like now that you're solidified in a relationship, because now you don't have to worry about going back out there and try to figure everything out again.
Right.
All those uncertainties in life are just, there's a level of excitement, but there's also a huge level of stress and uncertainty and like fear.
Yeah.
I don't know if fear is the right answer, but
so
my friend Jackie she was also going through this process recently. She had a situation where she was getting laid off from work because they were with COVID and everything. They had to downsize, and so they've been downsizing a little bit here and there, and then it just keeps getting worse, so they have to downsize again. And she was one of the people after several other downsizing. It's now to her level. So then they were like, yeah, sorry, we have to. And then the same kind of situation happened where she went through this whole interview process, and she has to do a lot, like she does design work and stuff. So she had to do portfolios for all these different companies and like go through this whole process. And then she got accepted, like she got an offer, or I don't know how many, but at least one. And it looked like a good opportunity. And then her office said, actually, how about we put you in this new position and give you a raise? Like the same thing happened where she's like, oh, now I'm stuck to like figure out what am I going to do next? Am I going to stay or am I going to go?
Right.
And
it's
it was
also
just like,
hard because like, that the company knows you and is backing you a little bit and is kind of saying like, hey, we appreciate you. And just so you know, we would hate it if you left. And you're like, well,
yeah, exactly. But also she had to like say, well, if I leave, I get a severance, but if I stay, then I don't get that severance. And I was kind of like planning on that severance now because I've been planning leaving for the last, 3 or 4 months. And so I don't know, she bought a house in this process and it's like, it's like this whole situation now. So she has to make a decision.
I'm still nervous just because I'm new to a mortgage and I feel like, oh gosh, I, spent so much money getting this that I don't really have the buffer for, jumping into a startup and then that failing suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't feel envious of either of you going through this process, but I'm sure it'll all work out for the best. It usually does. So
it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even know why I'm so worried and nervous about this. Like I've gotten every programming related job I've gone for, not because I'm like amazing or anything, but just because I've always had a foot in the door and I'm not bad. Yeah, so I think I can do pretty good interviews and stuff. Like I think I'm pretty good in that process. Not that that helps me with the nervousness, but I don't know why I still always fear it because I feel like my interviews have also been getting better over time. Like the worst interviewing I've ever had was like the first interview I did for my job because I knew practically nothing and I'm there trying to be like, I know some things. And so it's just been getting better every iteration. I've been more and more able to anticipate like what the people are going to ask leading up to this point where I had like almost a non-interview where they're like, yeah, you have the job. And I'm like, I haven't said anything. And they're like, you have the job. So I don't know, like it still makes me nervous though to like.
I know. I was going to say that. I was like, well, how did it work out with this job? You weren't super confident when you started this job. It turned out to be okay. So
true.
Like
I mean, this is the job I was talking about where the interview went pretty bad. So I haven't really. This was my first job in the programming sphere out of college, so it's pretty much now on to the next thing. And boy, what a leap it would be if I took this position. So. Well.
Live on the wild side. You're good for it.
It's good.
I'm excited to see what happens. So yeah, it is good.
It's also daring.
It's daring.
And either way, I end up working with a friend, which is awkward.
It has its pluses and minuses for sure. Yeah.
Like I have someone I know I can be like, I could just like whisper to the side like, hey, I have no idea what they're talking about. What is going on right now? But I also, it's the situation of like, every single time I screw something up at work, like I'm going to hear about it at game night. Like, great.
Yeah, that's true. And it's a reflection on them too, because they bash you.
And then they have the anticipation like, hey, why'd you screw this up? Now so-and-so is going to be like, who are you bringing to us? This Jamook who can't even push clean code.
That's true. But at least the fact that your friend signed up for this, maybe they feel pretty confident in it too.
Apparently.
I don't know what their situation is, but
that's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean for the company? Yeah.
Yeah, like if they don't work out, you're both kind of like.
Yeah, we could be screwed together.
Yeah, like at the same time, maybe you're both going to be vying for the next job.
Right.
Like when you both.
It's like, hey, we both contact our like third friend that we're like, hey, so who do you love better?
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
well.
Yeah, I know of a couple leads that I could follow, but
that's good.
I know. Of course, I suppose I could always like come back to this position if I leave on good terms, which I plan to. I've loved my job here, but that's a weird thing to do.
I'm sure they'll understand. They've probably been in a similar position as you, where you have to do what's right for you in your life. So it's nothing to do with them. It's just this is where I'm at.
Yeah,
the awkward part would come if they're like, okay, whatever they're offering you will match. Because we don't want to lose you.
That would be interesting. I don't think they can do that.
Well,
I would be being paid more than some of my superiors, so that would be.
There you go. So
that would probably not work out. I think. I mean, I don't know what they're making, but I'm guessing because that would be interesting. That would be quite a jump if. But then again, everyone's getting promoted or raises lately, so. That's their thing too. They're like big on employee retention right now, and I'm like, well,
actually, cough, cough.
Yeah, so it's weird, but you know, and also it would be nice to just learn new stuff and have a new challenge, because it always leads me to believe, especially in like a technical field like this, that it's like, do I really know what I'm doing? Like, I mean, like I can do this job good, but did I just like learn this job really well and I like know, and like, is this maybe an easier job than is out there? It's like, I have nothing to assess my skill against, you know, like I've never really tried anything else. So,
and I will say, like, the time is now to do that, because I will say from an old person's perspective, it gets a lot more like, not just harder to learn new things, but also it's more awkward when you don't know. Like, so it's one thing to say, like, people kind of give you leeway when you're still fresh or like fairly new in your career, versus when you're much farther along in your career and they're like, oh wait, you don't know this yet? You're like, you know, like they'd probably be more lenient of like somebody saying, I don't know this, but I could learn it, from a younger person than a much older person. I don't know. Yeah.
That
could be totally wrong. I mean, I'm sure I don't know your profession well enough to say that for sure, because they could be very understanding.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of weird to have like an older person come in, especially like, I feel like tech is a young man's game. So have like an older person come in and be like, what's JavaScript? Would be like, oh boy, this guy must have been working on Ada or something. Like, right.
Yeah, well, that's exciting though. I mean, by the time we record next time, hopefully you'll have made a decision. And
that's the only reason I'm saying it in this podcast, in case like, hey Steve, if you're listening, sorry about this. This is my 2 weeks notice if you haven't heard by now. So yeah, obviously it will have been sorted out by now. So you know what's awkward? I think I'm going to leave right before I get my bonus. This whole process took longer than I expected.
It usually does.
Yeah, so it's like I'm leaving at this point. I have the offers and they're expecting me to, you know, come work. Yeah. So it will have to be about a week before I get like my yearly bonus. Dang. So you can't all get W's, you know.
Can't get everything, you know.
Yeah. All good opportunities. So
yeah, we'll be thinking about you in this awkward phase of your life, and rooting for your normalcy.
I'm not going to be able to like work for a cool startup that could go under at any moment when I have kids, you know. So
this is true. Yeah, you want to.
There's one time to do it.
Strike while the iron is hot, as they say.
Yeah.
But do what's right for you, you know. I'm sure.
I almost feel like I'd feel worse if I got in there and I didn't end up getting like some promotions and stuff, because then it's like they're acknowledging. Then I feel like they're. I will see. I don't know. I want to see how the company culture is, but I kind of get the sensation that that would then be at a situation where they're like, oh, you know, he's okay. We'll keep him around to do the easy stuff, but we'll like hire good people to do the other stuff.
Nah.
You know, all those kinds of deep inadequacy,
like the politics of companies.
Anxiety going on. That's the imposter syndrome talking, you know.
Of course, yeah.
I'm always like, what's going on? What do you think?
And plus, you'll make a good impression, so I know you will. I've yet to find somebody who's met you and not liked you.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's my curse.
That's your curse.
I keep saying I hate this interviewing process, but also that I'm good at it. Yeah. I think I'm a relatively charming individual. I mean, you know, audience be the judge, but I think that, you know, I'm pretty like self-defacing and stuff in a way that people tend to like me, but it's one of those.
You're likable, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm like, do you just like me though, or do you think I'm a good programmer? Because that's always the thing.
It's the opposite, actually, Andrew. They like you. They don't think you're a good programmer.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No, I'm kidding.
There's always that nice guy in the office that no one wants to fire, right? Like it's like, oh, he's terrible at his job, but he's just such a great guy. He's just such a great guy. Who's gonna fire him?
We don't want to break his heart, the poor guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope it's not
everybody has their strengths.
I wonder if I'm gonna tell my boss that I'm quitting, and he's gonna be like, oh, okay. Good luck, man. I'll see you later. I'm like, okay.
Oh, no. I don't know. We'll see. I think it'll go just as you think.
No, he's actually super cool. He's been like, he's honestly the biggest reason I haven't left yet, because they kind of pay horribly. And it's great that they're giving bonuses out or promotions out now, but
just bad timing.
Raises. But that's the kind of thing that's like too little too late. And
Yeah.
it's more of like the upper management issue. And I can just tell that it's like in their blood to be an office in person kind of company. Like they've been all like, oh, COVID made us a work from home kind of place. But I can already feel them like thin into the wedge. Like
Drawing you back in.
Yeah, this latest week where they're like, hey, everybody come back into the office and let's just like party and stuff. It's going to be a great time. It's like they're luring you in and they're like, anyways, so spend a couple hours working in the office, you know, just see how you like it, see how it feels. Like, not too bad, right? Like, maybe come in next week too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. That's how my office is too. And I'm like, But
Oh, they did
unfortunately,
that
I
too?
have to. Well, yeah. I mean, like, I don't have a job where I can technically work from home all the time, but
Right.
it would be nice if I
much
could.
harder. But I mean, also, like, you only have to go to your patients, right? Like, you don't really
That's
necessarily have to go
yeah.
to like a central office.
Right. I never go to the office unless I have to for some reason. But
Unless
I
you're
mean,
going to
over
the
the
principal's
summer,
office.
yeah, it's kind of what it feels like. If I ever go there, I'm like so unnerved. To
it's
be honest,
like,
I'll be
why am I
honest. This is hilarious though, because so summer's coming soon and there's a couple patients where I see them strictly at school. And so the parents were saying, so when summer hits, what do we do? And they live too far away for me to go to their house. And so I was like, well, the only other option is to go to the clinic, which is at the office, which I don't normally work at because I'm just not a clinic worker. I'm a in field worker, so I do natural environment. So not that I couldn't, but it's just never, the opportunity's just never been there for me to need to do that. So I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, you could go to the clinic and maybe we can find another therapist for you to work with. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, well, or maybe I could do it at the clinic, but I think the clinic's going to be too far away from me. So this is the thing. This is how often I go to the clinic. I did not know where it was. That's
okay.
like, so I kept
You're like,
thinking,
could you remind me?
yeah,
the
well, because I kept
address?
thinking in my head, because they had an office that was in one location, and I thought, and the clinic was definitely connected to that location. And in my brain, because it's been so long, I'm like, this location is this location. Like, this is where I think it is. And it's really far away from my zone of where I work. But in actuality, I was talking to another therapist, and she's like, no, the clinic is here now. And I'm thinking, like, I didn't know that, and it's actually closer than I thought it was. Anyway, that's how much I go into any kind of office.
So easy,
any
you
kind
could
of
go anytime.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's not like super close to where I am, but it's way closer than I thought it was. So I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I can make that work. Actually, at least just during the summer, it's not that big a deal.
Right.
But that's one thing I do like about my job is I don't have. Yeah, like you, like I don't have a boss just constantly on me about stuff, like looking over my shoulder. I don't have to go into an office and have to check in or clock in or do all of these things. I just bill for the hours that I work with the patient, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's obviously downsides to it, but there's a lot of freedom in it, and I definitely love, as we said, freedom. Freedom is like my number one. Like if I were to say, what are you looking for in a job? Freedom. That would be my very first response. So
I feel that.
Yeah, I would take less money to have more freedom. Not to say that I wouldn't take more money for, certain things, but
that's kind of where I'm at. I assume there'll be a little less freedom with the startup. Like have to be more collaboration and stuff on a regular basis. But I mean, honestly, I think being a developer is one of the more hands-off like businesses you can be in, because it's just like pretty much you have your stand up, which is just like you tell your team what you're working on, and then there's not really any other mandatory time you need to spend with them. I mean, every company's different, or most of the other stuff is just kind of like at will, like collaborative stuff where someone might be like, hey, can you like get on a call with me so I can explain this to you, or you can explain this to me, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, we definitely do that with my job too. Like I co-treat with other therapists, sometimes with kids, and I mean, that collaboration is actually kind of essential, when you're working with other professionals.
Yeah.
It's just good because it helps you grow. It helps, everybody be on the same page about things. And obviously provide the best service for, in my case, a patient. But yeah, like just the day-to-day, not having, to go, like just having more freedom over the schedule and what you do and, that kind of stuff is nice. But yeah, so I hope you get everything you want and dream
everything
of.
I've ever dreamed of.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I always hope that.
Yeah,
for
me
you.
too. But
yeah, of course.
see.
So
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Well,
Here's to futures.
cheers.
Cheers. I have my drinks. Cheers.
Okay.
And to everybody listening too, I hope that you guys really think about where you're at and hope, you fight for the things you really want in your life and your careers. And yeah, if you're unhappy, here's your friendly reminder to just look at your options before settling.
Yeah. I would honestly, I think it's a good practice for anybody to just go out and like try and get an interview and go through that process, even if you're not looking for your job. If you're like completely happy with your job, like just do it, without the pressure. Like, that like you don't have to be very good or like get this job, just to like feel it out and stuff. And then, at the end of the process, they might, give you an offer or something if that works out. And
you can always turn it down.
Yeah, you might actually really like it and might like really be interested in the job. At the very worst, you just learn more about what's out there and like what you could have if maybe it's way worse than what you have and you're like, yeah, okay, confirmed, my job is great.
Yeah.
And then you can always just turn it down and say, sorry, I'm enjoying where I'm at.
Something else or something else came up that was better for me or whatever.
Yeah. You can always say I'm enjoying where I'm at, because you're like, yeah, actually, I do really love my job. I'm sorry to, thank you for your time. I'm sorry to put you through that. And then they might be like, all right, what's your current job paying you?
Yeah, that's
but
true.
You never know. And even then, you could still be like, oh, sorry, yeah, I'm really thinking of staying. So in worst case scenario, you just like learn more about the process and get more comfortable with going through that process, right? Because
and it's kind of nice to go through the process when you don't need
when
to
it's,
go, when it's not a dire situation where
that's I think where most people get their anxiety from, right? Is like when you're like, I need a job right now and I need to go through this possibly like multiple month process of going through really awkward interviews and performing like weird tests and stuff for people and seeing if I can get something that is willing to sustain my livelihood.
Yes. And because you're more likely to pick something that might not be right for you if you're under the pressure of like having to get it. Like,
it's like I need money, so I need to eat, so I'm taking this one. Not just like, oh, this is a cool job. This would be something I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's a little like life update and lesson, I guess. I'm sure people know this. Sometimes I feel weird about like giving advice because I'm like, duh, it's like if I know it, other people probably know it. Like
Yeah, but you never know. I mean, it's one of those things where 90% of the people listening could know that, but you help the 10% that didn't,
Or even if they do know it, it might just be because a lot of times I'll be listening to somebody else talk about something and it is something that I know, but them talking about it inspires me to rethink
brings it
or
back
talk
up.
about it. Brings it back up.
Surfaces it in your mind.
There you go. Yeah.
In the immortal words of one of my favorite people, CGP Grey, your real job at your job is to look for your next job.
That's true. That's a good point. That is a good point. So with that, get out there and make the best of your life. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
And then come back next week because
we have more potting.
We have more life lessons to teach you. And you get to learn whether or not Andrew picked the safe job or the startup risky job.
What will it be?
That'll be our cliffhanger for this week.
Am I greedy or not?
Greedy? I don't see greedy. If you like,
it is kind of greedy. If I follow the big $sign in the sky and I end up crashing and burning, it's a very Daedalus situation, right? Or Icarus.
I guess, yeah. But maybe it's more than just the money. It's the opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Try something
new. We'll see if I learn and grow by next episode.
Let's see.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Oh, by the way, before you go, don't forget to hit like and review and,
subscribe and
help us out a little bit if you want. No pressure, but we don't usually say this at the end because we always know that you know what to do, but it really helps us out if you do review and subscribe. So just a friendly suggestion.
Okay.
Thanks.
I love you, that's why I say cheerio, not goodbye. Remember our old tune, be back soon.
Thank God it's over. I can't stand talking to you.
Yeah. I'm so tired of you. God.
Can you, hey, Next time,
Like all you talk about is me.
stop flattering me so much about how I'm so great and I'm getting such great opportunities. You know, it's a little ham-fisted, and people can tell that you don't really mean it. Okay.
Okay, well, I just wanted people to think that I love you so much that I want the best for you, but
Yeah, I get how you're acting. I'm telling you, you're a bad actor.
well, I try, I'll take classes. I'll learn.
Good.
Ugh, get out.
Love you.
I love you too.
I love you. Bye bye.